Welcome everyone to Wrasslin Raw!
You're listening to Wrasslin Raw, the podcast that takes you back to when the World Wrestling Federation developed a little bit of an attitude. Thank you for joining us. You're here with Ryan Arico.
My goodness, what beef in there!
Jeez.
Joe Giammatteo.
Neither one of you can match up to the Big D.
Oh my, it's true. I'm the one and only Jason Bartlett, and we're going to examine WWE history one pay-per-view at a time. That's right, folks. This is a special pay-per-view episode, and pay-per-view rules will be in effect. If you'd like a breakdown of those, they can be found on any one of our many pay-per-view episodes in our archives. Hopefully everybody is up to speed on those, so we're just going to keep it moving forward. In this episode of Wrasslin Raw, we're going to be talking about the 1996 Royal Rumble. The 96 Rumble was recorded at the Selland Arena in Fresno, California, and aired on January 21st, 1996. This features Vince McMahon and Mr. Perfect on commentary. Are you guys ready?
I am ready.
Ready.
All right, then, let's get into it. First off, just so everybody knows, viewer indiscretion is advised tonight.
Ooh.
By a naked Sonny in a tub with some poppin' red lipstick and a glass of wine. God damn. There's a nice video vignette breakdown going into the start of our pay-per-view, taking a look at the title scene here in the WWF. And, of course, let's not forget about the titular event, the Royal Rumble itself. I was pleasantly surprised at how relatively tasteful this all was, especially after Sonny's intro. I mean, I suppose that could have been as tasteful as possible, but this little video intro was actually very well done and felt respectful to the topic, I guess. Vince is there now with Mr. Perfect, who's going to be filling in for Jerry Lawler tonight, as we hear the music start for our first match of the night. Ahmed Johnson defeats Double J Jeff Jarrett by disqualification in 6 minutes and 40 seconds. Double J was out first, and there were already stumbles on commentary as Mr. Perfect and Vince tried to talk over each other. This was going to be a theme throughout the entire night. They do eventually somewhat mellow out with each other and don't try to one-up each other as much. But here they were just kind of getting the feel for each other, I would say. Double J was out first, doing his strut and getting ready. But as soon as Ahmed's music hit, Ahmed was running down the entryway, dripping in oil, ready to beat the shit out of Jarrett. There was a brief spot in the corner once things get going, where Jeff tries to put a hip toss on Ahmed. Ahmed was too heavy, or blocking them, or something though, because things got a little cartoony. As Jeff and Ahmed look at each other, but when Ahmed reverses into a hip toss of his own, it looked great. Jarrett got some great air, and Ahmed got to look like he knows what he's doing. This match was a great way to make Ahmed look good, and he did a great job of taking advantage of that. Ahmed looked like a tough-as-nails badass through most of this. Jarrett putting Ahmed through the steel steps, fantastic. I don't know if he was just so uncoordinated that he literally went through them the hard way, or if he was just selling it that well. We'll never know. I was lost, though, when Ahmed started jogging in place to psych himself up and no-sell some axe handles. This is the Ahmed Johnson equivalent of doing the Hulk up no-selling, I guess, but wasn't working. For once, Ahmed's spine buster looked like it was performed correctly. But holy shit, Ahmed's suicide dive, or the tope suicida, as some of these modern fans might call it, over the top rope at Jarrett was really poorly timed. It looked like Ahmed went face first into the concrete on that one. And the splash from the corner looked pretty damn rough as well. Really, once Ahmed went outside of his comfort zone of power moves, things got a little ugly. I was pretty surprised to see Jarrett bring the guitar into the ring at the end of the match here, and just as surprised to see Ahmed take the guitar straight to the face. It was indicated that he was somewhat knocked out, but man, he sure was up and moving well once it was convenient for him to do so. He almost fucking beat Jeff Jarrett to the back, which would have been hilarious. I don't think that was supposed to happen. So for our show opener here, I think this was pretty good all around. It was more of a match highlighting that Ahmed is still learning. And when he got out of his comfort zone, it got ugly, but the work within his comfort zone was looking good. Jeff Jarrett did a great job as always, so there are definitely no complaints on his end. All in all, I was satisfied with this and ended up giving it 3 stars. Joe, what did you think of this match?
Well, Ahmed comes jogging to the ring, so that was a little different already right off the start here. Double J is doing his typical veteran move and sliding out of the ring, kind of slowing things down, which I thought was good. I watched Broken Skull sessions with Randy Orton a couple weeks ago, and Stone Cold asked him, like, what's the best advice anybody ever gave you when you were younger starting out? And he was like, slow down, kid. That's all I could think of when I was seeing this, because it's like Ahmed Johnson is definitely someone who needs to just kind of slow things down if he's going to have a match like this. I thought the match was good. It was certainly better than I expected it was going to be. I think that there were some things that Ahmed Johnson did here, obviously, that we haven't seen before. He did the dive over the top and a couple other things that were nice to see. I thought it was going to be over after that spine buster, but they kept going. So that was nice to see. It's known that Ahmed Johnson was a little bit difficult to deal with and a little bit unruly, I guess, in the back. And I just want to point out that he's taking quite a few headshots here recently. So maybe that had something to do with it. That guitar shot was pretty rough. I also gave this 3 stars because, like I said, it was better than I expected. Unfortunately, I think it's probably going to be the best that we see out of Ahmed Johnson. I'm not sure he can be much better than this, but we'll see what happens.
I thought these guys started out pretty well together. I loved when Ahmed came running down, just how much oil he had on him. I mean, it was like, it almost blinded me, the like sheen coming off his chest. It was so shiny.
You could have fried a turkey with that oil.
Oh. And it started out a little bit sloppy, though. Some of the stuff that Ahmed was doing at the very beginning, that body slam was a little rough. He kind of slammed Double J right on his side and hip, like he likes to do with the spine buster at times. But luckily for Double J, he got the spine buster right today. That was a very good looking spine buster. I'm not sure I liked the no-cell jogging in place. There was just something that looked really lame and kind of slow about it. I don't know, maybe if he was jogging faster, that might have made it look worse. I don't know. But yeah, I didn't like the no-cell jogging in place. I thought that was kind of dumb. But I thought a good portion of the other stuff in this match was good. When they took it outside, the shot into the stairs looked really good. And then the guitar, I was a little surprised, like you said, Bartlett, that this is how it ended, with a disqualification for Ahmed's best match we've seen out of him. We don't get a real good ending. But I liked the way the whole guitar thing played out. He takes it off the top rope and just wraps it around Johnson's head. And, he falls like a cartoon, complete straight leg, collapse backwards like a ton of bricks. And I thought it looked pretty good. I'm in complete agreement with you two. I thought this was a pretty good match to start things off, especially with Ahmed Johnson, so I gave it 3 stars.
Excellent. 3 for 3 on the 3 stars. Joe, what did Meltzer have to say about it?
Dave Meltzer gave this match 1.25 star, noting that Johnson is really green. Jarrett tried to carry it, but it's hard when nobody buys Johnson being in trouble because he's so physically impressive and does not know how to sell to overcome the impressive size.
I suppose that's a pretty fair critique.
It's a fair critique, but I still think a little bit low.
1.25 is pretty low, yeah. But good comments, yeah.
All right. Well, we'll move it along here in the Rumble to backstage with Todd Pettingzoo and Diesel. Everybody wants to know what's on Diesel's mind. What, again? Isn't this the same fucking promo that he broke Babyface with Everybody wants to know what's on Big Daddy Cool's mind. That's the way he starts every single one of these promos, or at least it just feels that way. I don't know for a fact. I haven't been keeping track, but I got some serious deja vu on that line. This whole thing was just a little too close to the old babyface Diesel for my taste. But thankfully, it did not last long because we went straight then into our next match. The Smoking Guns, Billy and Bart, defeat the Bodydonnas, Skip and Zip, with Sunny in 11 minutes and 14 seconds to retain the WWF Tag Team Championship. So the first thing that I had to note right off the bat with this match is that it was really funny because I remember the Bodydonnas clearly as a tag team back in the day. I was more familiar with them as a tag team than I was with Skip as a single. But what I did not remember was just how much older Tom Pritchard looks than Chris Candido. It was striking.
What do you mean? They look like twins. I can't tell them apart.
Yeah. Now, is that Zip or Flip?
That is one great thing about Mr. Perfect is that he was just a consummate smartass throughout this entire pay-per-view. Sonny gets in the ring and cuts a brief but serviceable promo, and then it's the Guns' turn to come down. The crowd is really starting to react to Sonny now. That's just picking up more and more as time goes on. Skip was working really well with Billy there at the start, but then it became a 2-on-1 for much longer than it needed to be, with the moves and communication between Skip and Zip a little stilted. Sonny distracting the Guns was weird, just in that it was unusual. She's typically just yelling and screaming on the sidelines. This is the first time that she's actively engaged herself in the match to a greater effect than most valets, and just getting blatantly sexual with it. Equally unusual was Zip requesting to be in the ring with Bart, but the work here wasn't all that bad. The Guns continue to show how good they are at tag chain moves and are clearly the better team here. It was nice to see Sonny take a bump for the story. That's another new thing that happened in this match. But at the same time, it was too much time taken away from the match. What happened is Sonny takes a bump on the apron, Billy goes to check on her, and we just spend too much time with Billy and Sonny at ringside. Vince accurately notes that Sonny has turned the match around with her antics, and I have to agree for once, Sonny's involvement has definitely covered for the lack of cohesion with the Bodydonnas. I was really irritated with the amount of double teaming in this match, though. A little bit is fine, but once you get past a certain point, it's just ridiculous, and things started to get into a little bit of a slog. The Bodydonnas aren't currently at their potential, and it was starting to drag things down a little bit. And here's one of those examples where too many people in the ring gets annoying and ridiculous to me. The distraction of the referee while trading pinfalls, just ridiculous. Anytime a referee is distracted, it just bugs the piss out of me because it's as though he can't feel the ring shaking with all of the body slamming going on right behind him. No, he's got to keep looking. He had no idea that anything's going on behind him, though.
You're breaking kayfabe, pal.
I know, yeah. I'm sorry. The double pin to secure the victory and 3 count was kind of contradictory for me internally. Like, part of me liked it, but part of me kind of hated it too. And, I feel that that's probably the best way to describe my feelings on this match overall. There were things here that I liked, but also things that I didn't like. And honestly, I'm going to put most of the blame on the Bodydonnas as much as I hate to do it. I know they can work well, so I'm going to chalk it up to them being pretty green as a working tag team. But with all of that said, though, I would have thought they would have practiced more or done something to get more on the same page going into a fucking pay-per-view. So because of that fact, I'm going to give this match 1 star. Ryan, please, what did you think of this?
So, the first thing I noticed is the Bodydonnas, or the new tag team of the Bodydonnas. They come down in these, ridiculous, shiny, golden Egyptian pharaoh usks-looking things. Well, I don't know why they started wearing those, but...
What are they called?
Usks.
Usks. Okay.
There's, the big shiny thing they wear. Yeah, those are called usks. And then immediately we see Sunny, who is starting to be a little bit more revealing in her attire. Once it actually starts, things didn't look too bad, although it looked a bit forced. And this was mostly, like you mentioned, coming from the Bodydonnas side. There was just something that didn't look quite on with them yet. They're not gelling as a tag team. And then the antics with Billy Gunn and Sunny happen, and then kind of more Sunny. And I don't mind seeing Sunny, but it started to become very evident that this was not about the tag team belts and more about elevating Sunny's character.
Yeah.
This was a match about Sunny and not about the tag team belts. To be honest with you, that is what really disappointed me about it. I mean, I didn't think that she did a bad job of playing heel. It was like the smoking guns didn't matter, and the fact that they won didn't even really matter. It was, let's give Sunny a push here. So I thought that was kind of disappointing, even though the ring work was proficient, I suppose. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't great. And because of all those things, yeah, I'm with you again, Bartlett, on this one. I thought it was a 1-star match.
Well, I guess this is where we can break it up a little bit. I think that, Ryan, you made excellent points there. And for all of those points, I actually really enjoyed this. I think that Sunny is now coming out with a skirt, and she's got she's not exactly wearing bloomers underneath that skirt, but it's still pretty PG for the most part. The camera is not quite going up her ass yet like it will in a little bit here in the next couple years. But she's definitely using her sex appeal more now with her announcement and her presence and with her exit from the ring. And now she's seducing the smoking guns during the match. So we have officially arrived. Like, this is the start of Sunny being a sex symbol for the WWF. So, I mean, as far as the match goes, I liked Skip and Billy in particular starting very fast-paced.
Yeah.
And a great head scissors takedown by Skip. Just great wrestling at first, and then it just got out of control. The match was a little sloppy to me. It seems like the two teams sort of need to work more with each other. And I probably would have given the match itself 2 stars, but as far as entertainment factor goes, I'm going to give it 5 because this is where Vince and creative know that they have a superstar on their hands with Sunny. If memory serves me correctly, Sunny is also going to give the tag team division a little bit of a boost here, and they desperately need it.
They certainly do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for entertainment factor, I'm giving it 5.
Jeez. I think that's the first 5-star match we've had here on Wrasslin Raw, isn't it?
No, I gave the Mabel and Undertaker match 5, too, because that was the end of that.
Oh, that's right, because they buried them, sent them straight to hell. That's right.
And I do believe we've had a couple others, too.
Yeah. Dave Meltzer gave this 2 stars. He noted that everyone worked hard, but the match did not come together.
Well, that's fair, I suppose. What isn't fair is that we've paid to watch a pay-per-view, folks, and hey, here comes that thing that Vince assures us that everybody wants more of, but nobody really does. And that's Billionaire Ted's Wrasslin' War Room. We couldn't escape it, even though we paid for the privilege to do so. There is nothing new here at all.
You know what I really thought was funny about this, though? This is like a whole thing about, the new generation. But later on in this show, we're going to get Jake Roberts. We're going to
Dory Funk.
Jake Roberts. Jake Roberts wearing a shirt, by the way, because he's just too old and out of shape now. Dory Funk Jr. Come on, guys.
The new generation.
Yeah.
Dory Funk. Ew. He's got the Buddy Landell physique going on. Except I think Dory Funk Jr. was probably legitimately pretty old at that point.
I was going to say, he's actually old, though.
Yeah.
Well, again, like I said, I was just surprised that they put this Billionaire Ted shit on the pay-per-view at all. I mean...
Yeah.
I mean, we shouldn't be, but yeah.
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 Just pure masturbation at this point. Not like it wasn't before, but now it really is. We can eventually move past that, though, to a video breakdown of the Goldust Razor Ramon story so far. Apparently, a whole bunch of stuff has been happening that hasn't been on Raw. At one point, Mr. Perfect presented Razor with a stuffed animal that Goldust had given to Mr. Perfect to give to Razor. At one point, the usher presented an autographed picture to Razor. I wasn't quite sure, but I think the subject matter of that picture was pretty weird looking. It looked like it was like a photo manipulation job or something.
Yeah, it looked like it might have been Goldust's head superimposed on Razor's body or something.
Is that what it was? Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, I knew it was something like that. It was Goldust's head on something, but I couldn't quite see it clearly. Petting Zoo's voiceover for this segment calls Razor Goldust's Latin lover, which was just gross, given the whole angle here. But then we get a recap of that great backstage brawl from last week, so this wasn't a total loss, especially because it's going to take us now into our next match. Goldust with Marlena defeats Razor Ramon by pinfall in 14 minutes and 17 seconds to win the Intercontinental Championship. This was the first time we got to see the movie aspect ratio for Goldust's entrance. I thought that was cool as hell, and I'm looking forward to how they're going to get creative with that moving forward. For those of you out there who don't know what I'm talking about, at first, whenever Goldust would come out, he would have just an ordinary entrance, but then as time goes on, they get more and more cinematic with it. And here in this, the first few seconds of his entrance was shot with the black bars around the screen to make it look like an actual movie trailer. It was cool as hell.
Did you notice they also slowed it down to 24 frames per second to give that drama movie footage look too? Really cool.
Yes. What else was really cool? Our first look at Marlena. God damn. She looked amazing then.
Chomping on that cigar.
Yes. Oh, yes. The interplay between Goldust and Marlena was fantastic. Little subtle nods to each other during match preparations, the way that they would kind of check with each other before doing things. And it was all very staged looking, but I mean that in the best possible way because Goldust and Marlena is a stage show. It's something that we're all there to watch, and it's part of the gimmick, and I fucking love it. Mr. Perfect notes that he's surprised at how calm Razor Ramon is during Razor's entrance, and I would have to agree. I expected him to come running down like Ahmed Johnson, but he didn't. Then I'm reminded, though, Razor has to get his pyro display in. Goddamn, Marlena was just looking good, and the camera asides to her. I'm going to keep mentioning it because it kept on coming up in this match. These cameramen are starting to learn where to dip to whenever the action sags a little bit. Goldust was looking just as good whenever he was creepily flopping around the ring and gesturing to Razor as things were getting going. And they milk the creep factor for a while commentary speculates on Marlena. But once again, the action starts, and it just was looking good. Those flapjack whips, or whatever they were called, to start from Razor on Goldust looked fantastic. Then Goldust groping Razor in the ring during a sequence, equally fantastic. And this was as well as his constant checking in with Marlena, like I mentioned earlier. Glances, looks, single words between them. The creep factor continued relentlessly here, and when Goldust drilled Razor with an amazing slap, Razor turned it around to paintbrush Goldust. Then Razor slaps Goldust on the ass for some reason. And that ends with Goldust really liking the fact that he just got his ass slapped. Fucking awesome. I was so into this match that I almost forgot to keep taking notes. Goldust literally hiding behind Marlena was great. The storytelling happening between a babyface and a heel here was it was perfect. And so were the timing of things. As Goldust went to hide behind Marlena for a third time, I was starting to get a little sick of that. But like the fantastic storytellers they are, this is where Razor decides to pick up Marlena and physically move her, opening himself up to an opportunity attack from Goldust, who takes advantage of that fact. And then I got sucked right back into the match. Marlena blowing some gold dust into Razor's face was interesting. We got to see a valet actively take part in the match. Again, relatively new and different thing here. This is twice now. Razor moving the ref to the corner to block the view of the crotch kick to Goldust was a fucking great little piece of storytelling. And Marlena coming into the ring to distract the referee started to lose me a little bit. It was a good spot as far as these go. I just don't like it, again, when the ref, and this is in air quotes, can't see what's going on, even though there's obviously someone getting body slammed 2 feet behind them. Things then got especially disgusting when the 1-2-3 Kid interfered by kicking Razor. This provided us with the pin, the 3 count, and the Intercontinental title going to its new owner, Goldust. So, up until the end, I was coming day and night for this match, and I won't deny that I still think it was an amazing match. I'm just extremely disappointed in the way that it ended. The 1-2-3 Kid's interference involvement was unnecessary, I felt, and detracted from what was an excellent match. But I am going to give this a solid 4 stars. And if it wasn't for that finish, this would have been my personal first 5-star match. Joe, what did you think of this?
Well, I want to talk about Marlena first, and we don't know who she is at this point. We don't even know her name. I mean, we're calling her Marlena because we know that, but on this show, we don't even know who she is. We don't know her name. And that is me giving credit to Vince McMahon for, we bash his commentary quite a bit, but, he wasn't obnoxious about this. He didn't do the "that's gotta be Kane" bullshit that he does. He's like, I don't know who this woman is. It's some woman with Goldust. We don't know who she is. So good job by commentary to help tell this story of, who is this woman? And with all the stuff leading up to this, obviously this is some sort of love interest of Goldust. So now it has you wondering, like, what the hell is up with this guy? Especially the fact that she looks so good, Yeah. So I like that they kept that dark entrance that you talked about, because it adds like a nice mysterious element for Marlena coming out. You can kind of see her, but you can't. And then the lights come on and it's like, whoa, who is this? Just great debut. And just, man, what a perfect use of a wrestler's wife, unlike, some of the other stuff that happens. This was great. And Terry Runnels just does a great job with it. And also for Goldust, way better gear for him in this match. Mm-hmm. The gold color was brighter, and he had a better look in this match than he has previously. The constant fondling of himself was the only thing that kind of bothered me. And it's not just the fondling itself. It's just, it was nonstop. And like, this is an Intercontinental title match, not just some fucking goofball match. You know what I mean? That part was like, come on. Just like, do we have to keep doing this? Like, there's just too much shenanigans for me in this match. But that didn't stop me from being highly entertained. Just, the use of Marlena during this match in the storytelling. Obviously, Goldust is still getting good heat. You could hear the fans chanting a word that is not very nice while he was out there. Yeah. And so the heat is working. I mean, it's not necessarily good heat, but it's there. Mr. Perfect's commentary was kind of hilarious. He was asking if Goldust was going to check Razor for a hernia. And saying stuff like maybe Goldust likes it rough, just stuff like that. That was kind of funny. I also gave this 4 stars just based, again, on the entertainment factor. Much like the last match with Bodydonnas and Smoking Guns, I was highly entertained by this, and I was wondering what's going to happen next. As far as the ending with the 1-2-3 Kid coming out, I hated that as well, but it's sort of like when you know what's happening backstage, I guess, that Scott Hall hated this so much, they probably just wanted to get him out of it. Unfortunately, it seemed like a little bit too quick, because I could see 2 more matches with these guys and be entertained by it. So, but yeah, 4 stars for me.
It was great seeing Marlena come down, chomping on that cigar like we remember, And just a great way to keep us guessing. Like you guys were mentioning, up until this point, they were really playing up his love for Razor. And then all of a sudden, he's walking down with this model who apparently looks to be into him, too. I thought they did a good job in keeping it quiet. This is where I kind of, I guess, differ with you, Joe, in seeing the new era of wrestling coming. I enjoyed her involvement in this match because there was focus on her, but I felt she wasn't the main focus. We still had the wrestling and the story between Razor and Goldust, where with the Bodydonnas, Sunny was the story here that we're following. So I guess that's just the two differences in my head. And I loved her involvement here, and also loved the way Goldust was just, Razor clearly had the upper hand and the advantage in this match, but he could never capitalize on it because every time he would just start to get a couple moves chained together, Goldust would do something bizarre to take him out of the match. Either groping Razor's chest or doing the thing we'll come to remember Goldust for, where he'll kind of halfway sleek out of the ring and kind of look at the person and almost like a snake, you know what I mean? The way he'll hang out the ring and look at them. And I enjoyed a great deal about this match outside of the end. I mean, I didn't think it was terrible. This is a heel finish, right? So having some outside interference isn't necessarily unforgivable. It's just, I was enjoying this match so much, I wish it would have had a clean ending. Yeah. But man, we're really on the same page for a lot of stuff here, because me too, 4 stars. I loved it, and Goldust is coming into his own now.
Excellent. Joe, what'd Meltzer say?
Well, Dave Meltzer gave this 2 3/4 stars.
What a putz.
Yeah, he didn't have much to add here. There were almost no comments at all. He just basically recapped the match itself.
All right. Well, yeah, I can't overstate how much I enjoyed this match. It really felt like we were finally getting to like a next plateau of quality in the storytelling and the matches with this. And also, Ryan, excellent point about Sunny's involvement versus Marlena's involvement here. I see the difference and I see what they're doing. It needed you to highlight it for me so I could see it, though. But yeah, it's going to be interesting going forward to see if they continue to treat them differently in that aspect. Well, let's go now to some comments from some various personalities. And these comments are going to be on what else? What else could it really ever be other than Shawn Michaels? First up is Dr. Jeffrey Unger, claiming that he thinks Shawn is perfectly fine to wrestle and that there's no need for concern or worry at all. Great. What? Thanks, Doc. I kind of feel like I've been lied to for the past few months with how over-traumatized this has all been.
Didn't Heartbreak Kid just tell us that his doctors told him not to enter?
Yeah, against the wishes.
So that was a lie.
I guess.
An embellishment from Shawn.
Yeah. And the worst part about it is that Unger's delivery of this makes it sound like we're the assholes for believing otherwise.
Yeah. He's 100% assholes. What the fuck you thinking?
I don't know why you ever thought that he had some kind of brain damage. Next up, Owen Hart. Owen does a great job as always, but then Jake the Snake Roberts, he looked like hell. That's the only note that I had on that. I couldn't even tell you what he said because I was so just jaw-dropped on how bad he looked. Jerry Lawler then up next. Jerry was underwhelming. Barry Horowitz then. Barry's just confident and happy and pats himself on the back. I would love to have more of that going on. But then we get Big Van Vader with Jim Cornette. That was amazing. As Vader just loses his shit and starts attacking a locker and just fucking up the locker room. It was great. And then Shawn Michaels. I'm really tired of Shawn Michaels. And I know that it's stupid of me to say that because of what's going to happen in the future, but they've really just beat him into the ground for me. And this point, this is where we find out that the free-for-all match, you know, that great gimmick that we were all up on but didn't get to see in this recording that's on the cock, that free-for-all match on the preview channel was fought between Hunter Hearst Helmsley and Duke the Dumpster Droese.
Womp womp.
Fucking Duke the Dumpster. And in what is the most shocking thing I've ever heard, apparently Duke the Dumpster won.
Yeah, I guess I don't think it was a
DQ.
Clean win. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a DQ.
Okay. So that brings me to the next point that I wanted to direct at you guys. Was that the end, the official end of Helmsley's undefeated streak, Duke the Dumpster?
I guess so.
I suppose. I mean, he was pinned at the Survivor Series by The Undertaker, but
they said that wasn't a normal match, so it didn't count. It wasn't a singles match.
In singles competition.
But I think that's the only time he's been pinned so far.
Well, Hunter got his first loss to Duke the fucking Dumpster. But per the rules, the arrangement of that free-for-all match, Hunter Hearst Helmsley is going to be the first entrant in the Royal Rumble. Duke the Dumpster will be the final 30th entrant. And now that we have that information, we're going to head into our next match. It's the 1996 Royal Rumble, and it ends when Shawn Michaels eliminates Diesel and lasts for 58 minutes and 49 seconds. So just to preface this, I am not going to be recounting an hour-long match here, the entrant order, or even who eliminates who, because by the very nature of the Rumble, there is going to be a lot going on here. So I'm going to give you all of my highlights here as we move forward, and if it relates to somebody getting tossed out, then great. If not, we're going to move it along. I was surprised that Henry Godwinn, who came out second here in the Rumble, was coming out to Hillbilly Jim's music now instead of his usual squealing animal sounds. That's a good thing for the future. Pretty soon, I think we're going to get the Hillbilly Jim manager and then the Midian, or Phineas in this case, tag team partner soon. Once Bob Backlund came out, it seemed like Henry Godwinn was no-selling Backlund and just not working with him. It was pretty entertaining, and honestly, it bumped Godwinn up a few notches, in my respect. I know I've said it before, but I have to say it again. Jerry Lawler's mullet tail hanging out the back of his crown looks fucking horrible. Just horrible. I thought it was funny that the only way Sir Mo is getting to the Royal Rumble is by walking down alongside King Mabel. And yeah, they still exist.
I thought they were both in hell. I don't know. I don't understand.
Yeah. Dead, buried in a casket.
At 5 stars. 5 stars wasted.
Yes.
Jake the Snake Roberts was looking like hell.
Well, he's really sucking wind after carrying that 50-pound bag down to the ring.
Yes, that snake was enormous.
Yeah.
We did find him behind the dumpster smoking crack.
Yeah.
Well, that's definitely a possibility, but all due respect to Jake Roberts, he did get one hell of a crowd pop.
Oh, he did.
He had,
absolutely.
He had a lot of crowd engagement during his time in the Royal Rumble. As much as we're joking around about it right here, he was over as hell with this. Guess who else looked like hell? Dory Funk Jr. Like, he actually has one of the worst physiques I've seen in the ring since we've been watching this. And that's not a knock on Dory Funk at all. He was older at this time. Like, he has an old man body.
He's only 33.
He went to high school with Buddy Landell.
In all seriousness, I looked it up. He was 54 for this.
Okay.
That's fitting.
So in wrestler years, he looked like he was like 76.
Yeah.
Jerry Lawler hiding under the ring. Incredibly stupid and annoying. I did not care for that. Razor Ramon chasing the 1-2-3 Kid down the entryway and through the ring was, to me, annoying, but again, to be fair, the crowd was definitely behind it, so it was a good move to do that, despite the fact that I didn't care for it. I continue to find it hilarious that any Japanese wrestler here in the WWF comes out to the same music. And that's not counting Yokozuna, who is definitely not Japanese, and Hakushi, who was his own deal. But here we have Takeo Omori. He came out to the very same music that Bull Nakano came out to, that Aja Kong came out to, and that 9 other Japanese women came out to for their various brief matches a month and a half ago. Yokozuna was looking really winded throughout almost all of this. It's really hard to hide a man that big from the camera whenever he spent a good amount of time just standing there. And I'm not even trying to joke about that. It was kind of sad. It was very sad, actually.
That was a tactic.
Yeah, okay. The EKG monitor in the back over by the gorilla station was going off the charts.
Don't move, Yoko. The heart's about to go.
Something that was super, super entertaining in this was Vader no-selling almost everything from everyone. I loved that. Great way to get Vader going in this. And I don't know what the fuck the deal is with the WWF calling the Headhunters the squat team. There's nothing about them that looks like they've ever done a fucking squat in their life. And they were already kind of known as the Headhunters. I mean, maybe only smart fans knew that, but they had a reputation. They were an existing thing. I mean, I guess maybe they just want to call them something, a name that they can own, but I'm pretty sure they end up just fucking calling them the Headhunters. As much as I love the high energy theme music, I think it's time for Owen Hart to get a new entrance theme. It doesn't really fit him anymore, and if he's going to be moving forward and getting new storylines, he needs to get freshened up a little bit. That's one of the ways they could do it. Yokozuna got so blown up that he literally had to sit on the second rope and gasp for air at one point. And, of course, Vince McMahon has a fucking stroke when Shawn Michaels enters. I was disgusted because, of course, Shawn Michaels is going to eliminate Vader and Yokozuna at the same time. Yokozuna, I'm not really caring quite so much about, but what a less than spectacular debut for Vader. First of all, he's not a surprise, and he gets eliminated by the guy with brain damage. I did like Vader losing his mind, though, and cleaning out the ring after his elimination. It was a great way to save a little bit of face here, and it required all of the officials and Gorilla Monsoon himself to kick Vader out of the ring. And then, hey, guess what? We all forgot, or at least I did, Tatanka. Tatanka returned, and his return was extremely overshadowed by everything that came before it. He was like an afterthought here at this point. By the time everything happened with Vader and Shawn Michaels' entrance, and nobody was giving him much of a shit about Tatanka. I was moderately entertained by Vince doing everything he could to defend Shawn Michaels walking around the ring and staying out of the action. But it does pay off in the end, as Jerry Lawler has been hiding under the ring this whole time. Shawn Michaels is able to get down there and pull him out to get him in the ring to eliminate him. I loved it when Vince said, and I quote, "It's the Royal Rumble, it doesn't have to make sense." End quote. I was super interested to see the Ringmaster come out in black trunks, being referred to as the Ringmaster Steve Austin by Vince with non-million-dollar music. That was very good to hear. We also got a quick view of Diana Hart in the audience. Once the Bulldog came out, she was looking great. And then, of course, we get to the end of the Rumble with Shawn Michaels as our winner. This was a pretty standard Royal Rumble all in all. There were a couple things that stood out as being very entertaining, but of course the finish was foretold by the drama leading up to it. There was no way in hell Shawn Michaels could not win this. I'm not really sure we should even be rating this. It's not really a traditional kind of match, but it is a very big part of this event. It's the fucking namesake of it, for God's sakes. So I decided to give it a 3-star rating. This was kind of average to me, and the good points were enough for me. Ryan, what did you think of it?
I'm going to start this off with saying, anyone that's been listening to us from the beginning has probably heard me say a few times that I'm not a real big fan of the Royal Rumbles. It's just very difficult to pay attention to what's going on once more than 3 or 4 people get involved. And at first, it's not bad. Hunter and Henry O. Godwin, they start off and it's just basically a singles match. And then Bob fucking Backlund comes in and I'm starting to lose a little interest. Then Lawler comes in, Bob Holly. Okay, Bob Holly, then Mabel, and I'm ready to fucking check out. But it wasn't that bad. Jake the Snake, just like the fans in the arena, even though this is a Jake the Snake that is a shell of himself, man, I'm still excited to see him, and I loved hearing him get that chant, the DDT chant from the crowd. I thought that was pretty nice. I also loved seeing the Vince for President sign. Did you see that get thrown up a couple times? Yeah, Vince for President. I'd vote, right? We've talked about Dory Funk, and yeah, he looked ancient, but I have to give the old man credit. The moves he was pulling off looked fucking impressive. Like, they were on point. They looked powerful. Like, I was actually impressed that this old guy could wrestle the way he did. I mean, I know he's a legend, but still, at 56, you said he was, Joe?
54.
54, all right. I thought he did a hell of a job for a 54-year-old guy in there. So I'll just leave it at that. I did like Vader. Vader looked like a monster. He eliminated, 2 400-pounders. He's clearing the ring, but unfortunately, he gets eliminated by Shawn Michaels. And yeah, like you said, Bartlett, the way Vince just gushed, oh my God, as soon as we hear Shawn Michaels music. I mean, it's what we've been, bitching about for 2 months here. This just over-the-top push of someone who's a great wrestler. I mean, I know we've mentioned it so many times and it's probably annoying, but sorry, the guy, he doesn't need this. He's talented enough to not need this annoyance that just makes me hate the guy. I enjoyed Mr. Perfect saying what we've been saying for almost a year now when Aldo Montoya came out and said, hey, his jock's on the wrong part of his body. Speaking of costumes, did you guys notice when Marty Jannetty came out, there was a severe lack of tassels? I mean, he's really cut down on the amount of tassels on his... I mean, there's still a few short ones going down his torso, but a lot less tassels. So I guess Wrasslin Raw has spoken to the past again, and Marty has switched up his ring attire. And then, it's just a bunch of people in the ring, and I was actually surprised how quickly the ending came. Shawn Michaels just started eliminating people like boom, 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 and then it's over. He eliminates his best buddy, and they give each other a high five. To me, you gave it a 3. I thought this was, like you said, though, extremely predictable. And because I don't really like Royal Rumbles to begin with, it was no dud by any means, but this is pretty generous for me for Royal Rumble. I gave it a 2-star.
I do enjoy Royal Rumble matches for the most part. However, I absolutely hated this one. I hated everything about it, mostly because this was the most predictable Royal Rumble that we've had. We've talked about Royal Rumbles on this show from 1993 up until this one, 1996. And to me, this is the worst one. I think this one had a lot more star power than last year's, being 95, but I just hated this. This was too predictable. I do think that it's a clever way to determine number 1 and 30 doing that free-for-all, but Duke the fucking Dumpster? Yeah. Come on. I mean, I love that Hunter Hearst Helmsley is number 1 because I think that number 1 spot is always that spot for someone to either win it or just really, show off their impressive skills. And I think he was able to do that for the most part. But fucking Duke the Dumpster. I mean, come on. And why is Mabel in there? Why is Yokozuna in there? Bartlett, you said Yokozuna. He was like sucking wind every time he eliminated somebody.
I will say, thankfully, it does look like Mabel is getting the Barry treatment, though. He was not a monster in there.
Yeah, I mean, I understand if you're Vince, you want that beef, that girth in there. But I mean, come on, these guys they're not good anymore. They're just not. Well, Mabel was never good. Yokozuna's he shouldn't be in there. Jake Roberts, old as hell. I mean, yeah, the crowd loved it, but fuck, he's old. He doesn't look good. They hired a snake wrangler for this one. Did you see him get the snake into the bag for him there? Which, I mean, that's understandable. That snake was fucking gigantic. So the thing I was looking forward to the most was Vader. I did love the freak out that he did, but like his entrance into this Royal Rumble was kind of lackluster, I think.
I agree.
If he's not going to win it, I guess this is the best way to show him off, is to have him like freak out and start just throwing people out of the ring illegally, I guess. I don't know. I was unimpressed with that. The squat team, what the fuck is that? What is that? Who are they? I don't get it. Like, they just came out of nowhere. It was just the whole thing was putting me to sleep. Like, I was just bored out of my mind. We get freaking Diana Hart again in the crowd. We get Diesel basically like throwing himself off the top rope. It was the Sweet Chin music, but like you could tell he just threw himself over the top rope. And then we get Friendship to top it all off. We get Friendship. Yep. I wanted Diesel to jackknife him being Shawn Michaels, through the ring. just completely through the mat. But no, we get friendship instead. So I'm giving this a dud. I hated it. It was so predictable. Shawn Michaels, the gushing over Shawn Michaels, Shawn Michaels almost pulling his cock out yet again during his strip teasing at the end of this. You guys talked about Shawn Michaels before. I don't hate Shawn Michaels right now. I just hate babyface Shawn Michaels. I don't like him as a babyface at all.
Yeah, I don't hate Shawn Michaels, the wrestler. I hate the push,
yeah.
Video packages and whatever else.
Right. So Dave Meltzer gave this 2.5 stars. One thing that he noted was that they played the entrance music. He said that this was the first time they did that, and he might be correct. I don't think we had music before for these guys. And also another thing he noted, it's kind of some sad news, but hopefully not too sad, is that Henry Godwin's elimination came earlier than scheduled because Mabel injured him during the Royal Rumble.
Jesus Christ.
Of course he did.
So he had to make an early exit because of that. So hopefully he's all right. And did you guys notice any no-shows during this Royal Rumble?
Bam Bam Bigelow.
Bam Bam Bigelow. You are correct.
Oh, yeah.
Dave Meltzer thinks that either Aldo Montoya or Bob Hawley were sent in to replace him. I don't know why he wasn't there, but, he was advertised and was not there. So
Vince even name drops him before. Like during one of the earlier matches. I can't remember which one, but earlier in the pay-per-view, Vince name drops Bam Bam Bigelow.
Nice catch on the Steve Austin, Bartlett. That totally went over my head. I didn't know that he said Steve Austin.
He only said it once, and it was right as the Ringmaster was going up the steps into the ring.
Another thing that Vince said I thought was pretty interesting about the Ringmaster was he called him cold and calculating.
Yeah, it's funny how quickly we're starting to get away from that gimmick already. We've gone from the Ringmaster to the Ringmaster Steve Austin, even though it's like pulling fucking teeth out of Vince. Already in the black trunks, not that spangly bullshit he was wearing before,
Yeah. Well,
there really wasn't much time between events here. The Royal Rumble leads us into tonight's main event. The Undertaker, with Paul Bearer, defeats Bret Hart by disqualification in 28 minutes and 31 seconds, with Bret Hart retaining the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. I hated the pull-apart between Diesel and The Undertaker at the start of this match. It was not a good way to start this match off for me personally. But you know what I liked? I liked the fact that Paul Bearer was carrying a fucking urn instead of a chain. Yet again, Wrasslin Raw has reached into the past, twice in one fucking pay-per-view. Once the match got going, it was apparent immediately that these two professionals were going to give it their all. And after that note, I realized that about 10 minutes had gone by without me taking a single note. I was extremely absorbed into this match. And that's not necessarily in a good or a bad way, but just something about this match felt just like different and unusual. And I couldn't think of a better way to put it than that. I did love those rollover moves that Bret was putting on The Undertaker's left leg to try to damage the knee and get him set up for the sharpshooter, and all of those attempts at submission holds by Bret Hart. I like submission wrestling. That's one of my preferred styles, I guess you'd say. The Undertaker putting a boot stomp to Bret Hart's face repeatedly was pretty cool. Then The Undertaker chokes Hart with a mic cable while Paul Bearer was distracting the ref. This was very unlike our hero here, The Undertaker, the babyface. And this is where their roles started to get a little bit confusing for me. That toss into the ring bell table. Undertaker put Bret through it. It looked rough as hell. And it really felt like the crowd was just as conflicted in this as I was. Even Vince McMahon comments on how many boos and cheers are happening for each competitor. Nobody really knew who to cheer for in this. Bret Hart getting The Undertaker with a reversal into a DDT looked great. And so did the side Russian leg sweep that followed it up. And I did get pretty excited for what looked like the final application of the sharpshooter. But that hold was broken for the match to continue. The exposed turnbuckle was a little surprising. And so was Bret successfully getting that facial appliance off of The Undertaker. That shocked the hell out of me. I thought that needed to be on there for a couple more weeks. And then, of course, here comes Diesel again just to fuck it all up. Diesel pulls the referee out of the ring on the 3 count, drawing the DQ victory for The Undertaker, but of course this means that Bret Hart retains the title. So guys, I was just like the crowd on this one. I went back and forth on who I was rooting for, and I have to be honest, the fact that I went back and forth kind of turned me off a little bit. I like both of these guys, and while that in and of itself isn't a problem, it was my inability to pick one or the other that left me mostly conflicted during this match, and in the end, it just left me kind of drained. And the finish with Diesel to perpetuate this pseudo feud with The Undertaker just annoyed the piss out of me. All in all, I'm going to go with a 3-star rating for this, but I do want to note that this match had the potential once again to be a 5-star match. Just if the build-up and the story had been properly developed enough, I just felt like we didn't get enough of Bret and The Undertaker building up with each other to go into this match. Joe, what did you think of our main event title match?
Well, I'll start with mentioning the urn. You said the urn is back, which is great. And when I saw this particular urn, I popped my ass off because this is a very significant urn. Do you guys know why? The one with the handles.
Does it have a 12-volt car battery inside making it light up?
I don't believe so, but this is going to be a betrayal urn.
The one that Mankind hits him with?
Yes. Yeah, the one with the handles. So when I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, we're getting close here. Getting closer. The other thing, speaking of the urn, something else that I popped my ass off for was when The Undertaker he finally gets into the ring with Paul Bearer, and Bret Hart's music hits, and Paul Bearer's reaction to the music. It's like he had like that shocked look on his face. It was hilarious. I loved it. And excellent psychology here to start out. It's really tough with The Undertaker. You know, when you're having a 30-minute match in 1995 with The Undertaker, it's not something that happens very often because we've seen him with really shitty wrestlers. Mabel, Giant Gonzalez, King Kong Bundy, all this bullshit. To me, it had some parts that were kind of boring. They were doing like that face crusher submission that was just
claw or whatever.
Yeah, just lasting so long. But I mean, that was kind of like the middle part. So this match had a beginning, middle, and end, and the middle was pretty boring, but the rest of it was really good. I think when they were taking it to the outside, it got a little more exciting. Outside of the ring, that is. Bret taking the appliance off of The Undertaker's face. I mean, that's pretty gutsy because we're talking about a broken orbital,
Yeah.
Would Undertaker have let anyone but Bret Hart take that off of his face? I mean,
that's a great point.
Certainly not Mabel.
Exactly. One of the other things I didn't really care for was Undertaker selling a leg injury. It just seems kind of lame to me because, like, this guy, Vince McMahon was saying The Undertaker feels no pain. Well, then why are we working on a knee?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I thought the match was good. I really hated all the Diesel stuff. And really, this is almost like the first piece of, like, us getting Bret Hart as that transitional champion because this isn't about Bret Hart and The Undertaker. This is about Undertaker and Diesel, but it's a Bret Hart match. So it's kind of disappointing. So I'm giving this 2 stars. I was back and forth between 2 and 3 stars, but there were just too many slow, boring parts. But I will say it's one of the better matches and programs that we've seen for The Undertaker. Even though I hate the stuff with Diesel, with the interference, I guess I'm somewhat looking forward to Diesel and Undertaker a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it started off on the ramp with Diesel attacking The Undertaker, and I'm already kind of concerned where this match is going to go, because I hated that. Once Bret Hart and The Undertaker actually start, it looks good. But just like the fans, you're confused. Who the hell? These are 2 baby, and they're not just 2 baby faces. They're both way the fuck over baby faces. So this crowd has no clue who to cheer for, and that's not a real good place to have a wrestling match, I think. The crowd involvement is one of the things that really add to a good match. So if you have a confused crowd like this, I think you're going to end up with a confused match. And it had nothing to do with the work. I mean, at 28 minutes, Joe, you pointed out perfectly, The Undertaker has been with just absolute garbage that couldn't put up more than an, 8-minute maximum for a match with some of these opponents he's been up against. So now that he's finally with Bret, he's able to put up a pretty good looking match. There's a lot of psychology being worked here, but again, it just kept on coming back. Who are you supposed to cheer for here? Without that, the match itself could stand on itself. So if you could just ignore who is babyface and who is heel, I thought it was a very entertaining thing to watch. When they went outside, even, there was a point where Vince had to explain to us, like, well, the ref and Gorilla Monsoon are just letting this go. We're not going to count them out because it's a championship match. And it's like, well, what do you mean? They've been out here for like a minute at this point. So there was parts like that were a little confusing too. And then, unfortunately, this ending. If I would take away the fact that these are both baby faces, I could say this was a extremely solid match that was a perfect huge monster versus this light technical middleweight. They did a great job with that. And then The Undertaker hits his tombstone. By all accounts, it should be over, and Diesel causes a disqualification in the main event of a major pay-per-view. Like, what the fuck? Why can't you let this just end? How many matches tonight are going to end on a disqualification or outside interference? Have we had a clean match tonight? Because I'm not sure we have. The wrestling in this match, I would have given a 3 or a 4-star to. But the fact that Diesel came in here and caused a disqualification made me give it a 1-star. And I hate to say it, because we have 2 of my favorite wrestlers involved here who I thought actually put in a pretty solid match, but the storytelling ruined it.
I have to say that I am very surprised that I rated it higher than the both of you. I mean, not by much, but just I'm surprised. I usually come in on the low end on these main events. You guys usually have better things to say.
This ending really pissed me off. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I mean, I think probably partly because it's Bret Hart and I don't want to see him get a cheap victory like this. And then also because I don't want to see The Undertaker get cheated like this. I mean, for many reasons, this ending just rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, that's a great point, too, about Bret Hart. Cheap victories. There's an awful lot of cheap victories for Bret Hart, it seems.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's never what everybody wants. It's kind of funny. Well, what'd Meltzer have to say, Joe?
Dave Meltzer gave it 2 3/4 stars. He said the match was dull in spots, but had excellent psychology and built into a good match. But the horrible finish just killed it.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Just when we thought that this would be the end of the pay-per-view, I was surprised to get the Royal Rumble Plus material afterwards. So apparently, the Coliseum home video cut of the 96 Royal Rumble is what's on the cock. It's not just the straight-up Rumble, it's the extra, the premium. This is just really petting Zoo in the locker room with Gorilla Monsoon to kick things off, trying to get some information about what's going to be happening in the next pay-per-view. That would be In Your House 6. Apparently we're going to get Diesel taking on Bret Hart for the title at In Your House, because per Gorilla Monsoon, Diesel is now the number 1 contender, and that just confuses the hell out of me, because it makes the story a touch too convoluted, this whole Diesel and Undertaker, and he just had the belt. And
that makes the ending even worse. So why does Diesel interrupting in a match and costing the Undertaker the belt make him the number 1 contender? Yep. What the flying fuck?
Yeah.
Even worse than that to me is that we already know Undertaker's going to interfere in that match, most likely. So again, we're getting a useless, a misuse of Bret Hart as your champion.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's go now, though, to Doc's impromptu cocaine jam with Shawn Michaels. Back in the locker room, they look like they're having fun. Shawn is tweaking and talking more about the Clique. This isn't the first time he's mentioned the Clique tonight, and it's just kind of weird to hear him talk about it this way. He's referring to the Clique as being his fans, his fan club, but we We all know what he's really talking about here. And then we go back to Todd and Gorilla. And after some talking, The Undertaker comes up to threaten Monsoon and say that Diesel will never wear the belt. Gorilla's response to prevent that is to put the newly booked title match between Bret Hart and Diesel in a steel cage.
Oh, great.
At In Your House 6. I can't imagine how that wouldn't be terrible. Let's go back to Doc. He's with Diesel now. And Diesel actually cuts a pretty decent promo here. At one point, he tells Doc to shut up and has a little bit of banter with somebody off screen, and it comes across as kind of genuine and real, which is where we like Diesel to be. But it ends up going on way too long and starts to fall flat. But then we cut back to Todd, who's there with Vader. And Vader is just fucking trashing the place while Cornette puts him over. It was a good way to kind of get a little energy back into this. And then we will round out this pay-per-view with a 3-minute review of everything that we just watched before fading to black. So, I have to ask now, and we'll go with Ryan first here. What did you think about the way that this pay-per-view ended?
Well, I guess if we're going to say the way it ended with this Royal Plus, I thought it was kind of lame because the Royal Rumble Plus just kind of felt, I guess, like what it was, just a bunch of extra filler with the people backstage that are, I don't know, some of them probably already drunk, having a good time, and they're just kind of bullshitting backstage. It doesn't really seem like actual wrestling content, and it more seems like people fucking around. You know, this wouldn't have been what the actual people that purchased Royal Rumble saw. They would have had to have got the encore to see it. So I can't say too much for it, but I guess it just felt exactly like it was, extra content.
Yeah, I'm getting the vibe that they're really trying to sort of take ideas from actual sports. So they have the free-for-all, which is kind of like your pre-game show. And then they have the Royal Rumble. And now they have this Royal Rumble Plus, which is very similar to a post-game show for, you know, any pro sports. So I think that's maybe what they're going for here. As far as the actual content itself, Diesel, to me, so we're like 2 months into this Diesel tweener thing, and I don't like it. I really wish they would have gone full-blown heel with Diesel here, and I think it would have been better going into this Undertaker-Diesel match if it ever happens. So I don't know. That's my comment on Diesel. Vader was awesome, and Jim Cornette with Vader, what a pairing that is. Yeah. The only thing I hate about that is that Jim Cornette has like 6 other guys that he manages. I kind of wish Jim Cornette just had Vader right now, but what a pairing. And Vader is really making his presence known during this event.
Yeah. What did they end up calling it? Camp Cornette?
I think so, yeah.
Because his stable was just so fucking huge. Yeah, this was a little bit weird, and Ryan, you definitely made a valid point in saying that this was more of encore material. People that tuned in on that Sunday probably wouldn't have gotten this, I wouldn't think. But yeah, Joe, excellent point about this just being like a post-game thing. I wasn't even thinking of it that way. I just thought it was a sloppily arranged section of promos that they cut just to throw in, just so they would have something extra to tease the taint with for the resell, for the encore. All right. Well, that's it, everybody. The pay-per-view is over, so now we have to ask ourselves the fundamental question when talking about pay-per-views, and that is, did you get your money's worth? Joe, what did you think?
I have to say, the main event for the title, I didn't love that match, and I hated the Royal Rumble itself. I do think that we have reached a point where we're really just flipping the switch on certain things. So Goldust being just super creepy, Marlena coming in, Sunny being Sunny now. We knew this stuff was going to happen in 1996. I just didn't expect it to happen like right away in January. So I do think I got my money's worth out of this event just by knowing those transitions are happening very quickly.
Yeah, I have to agree that I got my money's worth, even though I really didn't enjoy the last match with one of my all-time favorite wrestlers, The Undertaker. And again, it's a Royal Rumble, which is not something I love. All in all, there was a lot of highly entertaining matches here. I didn't give a 1 or a dud to anything, so how could I say I didn't get my money's worth? So I think, Joe, you're really pointing out a good point here. Even though there's things I didn't like, just overall, just the entire feeling of this pay-per-view is a vast improvement over what we've been getting over the last year. So yeah, I think I got my money's worth.
Yeah, we're going 3 for 3 on that. That's a great point about considering some of the stuff that we've seen recently, over the past year. But for me personally, the Goldust Razor Ramon match was enough for me to say that I got my money's worth. I thought that it was not only an excellent match, but an excellent way to kind of put a teensy bit of a capper on that story. We all know that, as Joe mentioned earlier, Scott Hall was not a fan of this whole thing and that it's probably not going to go much farther than this. Although it makes perfect sense that Razor would want a rematch to try to become the 5-time Intercontinental Champion, but we'll see what happens there. Yeah, just so many awesome things happened here. It's a step up in quality, so I absolutely got my money's worth. All right, so Joe, what do the numbers look like from the Wrestling Observer on this?
Well, from the readers of the Wrestling Observer, they voted 41.4% thumbs up and 41.0% thumbs down. So it is just right down the middle. The rest were, of course, in the middle. The best match was Bartlett, your favorite match, Goldust versus Razor Ramon. The worst match, I guess I can say, fortunately, we didn't see it. It was Duke the Dumpster Droese versus Hunter Hearst Helmsley during the free-for-all. So, yeah, those were the 2 votes there. Meltzer comments that every match on the show fell below what would have been expected out of the match going in on paper. So it doesn't sound like he was real high on the event itself. He also comments that this event was another step in what appears to be the new direction of the WWF. The show began with a disclaimer saying that parental discretion is advised. The show was more violent than past WWF shows, mainly with foreign objects being used. Obviously, talking about the guitar, maybe a couple other things. So he raises a good point there. I would agree with that. Yeah, so that's it. Those were the results from the Observer, and yeah, that was it.
All right, and that's it, folks. We are done with this one. I want to thank you again for joining us. If you like what we're doing here and want to connect with us, you can email us at WRASSLINRAW and just add @gmail.com to the end of that to submit questions or comments. Check us out on social media and on every podcast subscription platform. While you're there, don't forget to click follow and subscribe to get every episode of Wrasslin Raw coming to you every week. Give us a 5-star review and let your friends know how much cooler they would be if they became Rawheads like you and me. Next week on Wrasslin Raw, we're going to take a look at the Raw that aired on January 22nd, 1996, with matches featuring Savio Vega, Big Van Vader, and many more. So, for Joe and Ryan, I'm Jason, and this has been Wrasslin Raw.